Get ready to uncover some timeless wisdom that has guided households for generations. In today's video, we're diving into Grandma's top 10 life hacks you'll wish you knew earlier. Tricks born from a blend of everyday practicality and creative resourcefulness. From the nostalgic kitchens of the 1970s to savvy modern updates, these tips reflect an era when thrift, flavor, and durability took center stage. Whether you're interested in saving money, reducing waste, cooking memorable meals, or preserving treasured family traditions, Grandma's tried-and-true methods offer something for everyone. So settle in and prepare to discover how a few old-school habits can simplify your life, boost your kitchen game, and keep your wallet in check. Number 1. The timeless thrift hack. For decades, grandparents across the United States have been masters of making the most out of every penny, and people from the baby boomer and Gen X generations might remember how frugality often blended with creativity during the 1970s. One of Grandma's key tactics was to shop secondhand for big-ticket household items, such as furniture, sturdy kitchenware, and even children's clothing. In those good old days, thrift stores were thriving because families knew the value of gently used items, and these habits are seeing a modern resurgence thanks to the growing popularity of sustainability. Analyzing current data on budget management suggests that a family can save up to 40% on household essentials, simply by choosing refurbished or pre-owned goods instead of buying new. Not only does this strategy reduce waste, but it also stretches budgets in times when inflation can affect basic necessities. Many of those old commercials from the golden age of American television glamorized brand new products, but a savvy grandma knew better than to fall for every advertisement. She aimed to preserve resources and reduce household expenses, a practice still relevant today when everyone is looking for ways to cut costs. If you take a closer look at modern trends, you'll find a growing secondhand marketplace online, making it easier than ever to incorporate Grandma's timeless thrift hack into your daily life. Number 2. The nostalgic pantry trick. In the 1970s, home pantries had to accommodate a wide range of items, from canned produce to long-lasting staples like powdered milk and dried beans. Baby boomers recall how families carefully rotated these goods to make sure nothing went to waste. This trick involved placing newly purchased items behind older ones, effectively using up older stock first. Data shows that using a rotational system can reduce food spoilage by up to 30%, and with grocery prices on the rise, this simple routine can lead to substantial savings. Additionally, the approach was crucial during earlier times, such as World War II, when rationing required people to manage resources methodically. The system ensures that you don't discover expired canned goods hidden behind fresher ones, a scenario that many modern households still encounter when they neglect pantry organization. The nostalgic pantry trick also helps you identify key staples, like the good old flour, sugar, salt, and baking powder that keep well and remain central to countless vintage recipes. For those who crave the nostalgic flavors of yesteryear, having these foundational staples on hand is a surefire way to recreate older dishes, like classic 1970s casseroles or even home front-inspired baked goods. Number 3. The reusable kitchen secrets. Generations past recognized the value of repurposing nearly everything, especially in the kitchen. From glass jars once used for jam to coffee tins turned into canisters, Grandmas found creative ways to reduce clutter and maximize functionality. Modern research on sustainability underscores the benefits of such practices, noting that reusing containers can cut down household waste significantly. During World War II, metal was scarce and heavily rationed, prompting families to adapt everyday objects for new roles. This historical habit endured through the 1970s as baby boomers grew up watching their parents transform empty jars into storage for spices, buttons, or even sewing supplies. Today, you can give plastic a second life by washing takeout containers and labeling them for meal prepping. Or you can follow the older tradition of using sturdy jars for preserving summer vegetables. Studies suggest that reusing these containers reduces reliance on single-use plastics and fosters an eco-friendly mindset that aligns perfectly with modern efforts to go green. With entire social media communities dedicated to upcycling, Grandma's practice of storing leftover soup in an empty jam jar is a timeless and relevant hack. Number 4. The old-fashioned flavor boost. The mid-20th century was a golden era for creative home cooking, especially when families had to stretch affordable ingredients into tasty meals. While nostalgic 70s foods might conjure images of Jell-O molds or tuna casseroles, there's one technique from that period that stands out: using concentrated homemade broths, sauces, and gravies to enhance flavor. Some older cookbooks reference adding a dollop of bacon drippings to gravies for extra richness, a practice that originated in times when wasting any part of an ingredient was unthinkable. Modern nutrition data shows that bacon fat can be high in saturated fats, so health-conscious cooks might want to use it sparingly or opt for alternatives like vegetable-based bouillon. However, the principle remains: capturing the essence of simmered bones, vegetable scraps, or meat trimmings in a concentrated liquid elevates even the simplest dishes. Baby boomers likely recall that homemade broths were a base for several classic 1970s lunch ideas that have faded from mainstream menus. By relying on flavorful stocks instead of store-bought seasoning packets, often laden with preservatives, you can preserve an authentic taste of yesteryear while maintaining control over sodium levels. This hack harnesses the lessons passed down through generations, merging nostalgic cooking with today's healthier dietary preferences. Number 5. The minimal waste strategy. Grandma's generation was known for repurposing every scrap of food, turning potato peels into broth or leftover bread into pudding. Modern households confronted with rising food prices have started to realize the practicality of these vintage approaches. According to current waste management studies, the average American throws away about 30 to 40% of their food supply annually. Imagine how much money and resources get lost in the process. The old school strategy was straightforward: label your leftovers, keep track of them, and transform them into brand new meals. For instance, the leftover vegetables from Monday's dinner could appear in Tuesday's omelet, while stale bread might be given new life as a flavorful stuffing for the holiday season. This was common practice during the 1970s, especially in working-class households that needed to stretch every grocery run. By applying Grandma's minimal waste principle, you effectively respect the effort behind each meal and the land that produced it. Social media platforms now have numerous groups dedicated to zero waste or low waste cooking, echoing the resourcefulness of earlier eras. These communities often share recipes for leftover casseroles, soups, or fridge clean-out meal ideas, reminiscent of nostalgic 70s dinners. Not only does this cut your household costs, but it also fosters a respectful approach to the environment. Number 6. The mending clothes art. Sewing and mending were once essential skills, especially for baby boomers and the silent generation who preceded them. Clothes were stitched, patched, and re-hemmed rather than discarded at the first sign of wear. This tradition originated from an era when items were built to last, and people expected to repair rather than replace. Recent surveys on sustainable fashion confirm that mending clothes is making a comeback, partly due to the increased cost of brand new garments and also because of a renewed interest in DIY culture. Grandma's sewing kit, often stored in a recycled cookie tin or a coffee can, contained needles, thread, and a variety of buttons collected over the years. By patching up minor tears or reinforcing worn fabric, she saved money and gave clothing a longer life. In those nostalgic 70s households, passing on the skill of mending was common, especially among large families. Nowadays, platforms like YouTube have a wealth of tutorials that teach modern twists on darning socks, fixing zippers, or embellishing old jeans for a fresh look. This method respects both tradition and sustainability, tying together the golden days of America with today's conscious living trends. Number 7. The one-pot magic. Busy modern lifestyles often collide with the desire to cook wholesome meals, but one-pot dinners can resolve that conflict efficiently, echoing a tradition that dates back to the 20th century. Grandma's generation mastered casseroles, stews, and soups, dishes requiring minimal cleanup and fewer resources. Throughout the 1970s, popular dinners included one-pot wonders like hamburger helper variants and layered casseroles made in large Pyrex dishes. These options were showcased in vintage USA photography of bustling family kitchens, portraying how entire meals could come together in a single container. Recent recipe trends embrace the same concept, using electric pressure cookers or slow cookers to replicate that effortless style of cooking. The biggest benefit lies in reducing both prep time and energy costs, which is especially handy for anyone balancing work and family life. By blending modern appliances with nostalgic recipes, like adapting a 1970s tuna casserole to a slow cooker version, you'll experience a comforting taste of the past without spending hours cleaning up. This approach to home cooking aligns perfectly with time-saving hacks that many busy professionals crave, reaffirming that old-school wisdom still has a place in contemporary life. Number 8. The seasonal approach. Grandma's wisdom often revolved around the seasonal availability of fruits and vegetables, taking full advantage of produce at its peak. Back in the 1970s, it wasn't uncommon for families to grow their own tomatoes, cucumbers, or squash in backyard gardens. Preserving them through canning or pickling extended their shelf life and guaranteed homegrown flavors all year round. Modern nutritional data supports the health benefits of consuming produce at its freshest, citing higher vitamin and mineral content compared to out-of-season imports. Even those who lacked large outdoor spaces often practiced small-scale gardening using pots or window boxes, replicating the nostalgic feel of the post-Wapwanai era, when victory gardens were a popular way to supplement rations. Today, farmers' markets are widely accessible, enabling families to purchase ripe produce directly from local growers at lower prices. By focusing on seasonal cooking, you not only save money, but also reduce your carbon footprint by minimizing long-distance transportation of foods. Embracing this approach brings a satisfying connection to the land and a reminder of the golden days in America, when self-reliance and seasonal rhythms guided everyday life. Number 9. The meal preservation plan. A big part of Grandma's skill set involved preserving the bounty of each season, particularly in the days before widespread freezer availability. People use time-tested methods like canning, smoking, drying, and salting to store everything from meat to vegetables. Even in the nostalgic 70s, large chest freezers were still a luxury for many households, so canning was a lifesaver. Canned peaches, pickled cucumbers, and tomato sauces often lined pantry shelves, providing a taste of summer even in the dead of winter. Fast forward to the present, and canning is no longer a lost art. It's enjoying renewed interest among those looking to save money or revisit comforting flavors from yesteryear. Modern guidelines available through agricultural extensions in various states offer updated safety protocols to ensure that canning processes align with current health standards. Additionally, vacuum sealing technology adds another layer to Grandma's method, allowing people to preserve foods for extended periods without losing flavor. This blending of old-school and new-school approaches highlights a time-tested truth. Preserving food at home fosters independence, cuts waste, and delivers year-round access to nutritious ingredients. The USDA even publishes up-to-date data on best practices, ensuring that the meal preservation plan stands the test of time. Number 10. The memory-filled photo trick. While this might not sound like a life hack at first glance, many grandmothers have long understood the motivational power of family photos and sentimental keepsakes. Displaying images of loved ones or even vintage snapshots from the golden age of America can inspire a sense of continuity and purpose. In the 1970s, photo albums were a big deal, and families would gather after dinner to revisit memories of yesteryear. whether they captured big events or simple, everyday moments. The act of reminiscing about younger years or reflecting on relatives who lived through significant historical periods, like World War II, helped people stay grounded and grateful. Modern psychology research indicates that positive memories can improve mood and lower stress levels, which is why this seemingly simple trick retains relevance. Creating a digital slideshow of old pictures, especially those from the baby boomer era or Gen X childhood, can also spark conversations about how life has evolved from the good old days to the present. Social media platforms are full of nostalgic groups sharing pictures of 1970s lunch ideas that disappeared, old commercials, or glimpses of cooking on the American home front, evoking a sense of shared heritage. By incorporating these images into your living space, you keep alive the wisdom of previous generations, reinforcing the values and perspectives that shaped them. Whether pinned to a corkboard or displayed in modern digital frames, these images serve as a quiet reminder that some of the best advice comes from looking at where we've been. And while technology has changed drastically since the age of black and white Polaroids, the emotional connection triggered by those snapshots has not faded. This hack anchors your daily routine in gratitude, fosters an appreciation for lessons learned over time, and preserves a legacy that can guide future generations.